Oh, wow.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Anybody else have anything?
I saw a lot of indigo and gold swirls, and it's as if the center would be indigo and swirling, and it would be rotating, and around it would be gold, and then it sort of turning, and then the center would be gold, and the outer edge would be indigo, and that kept up for a really long time.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, Mike.
It's kind of like diving through a violet thunderstorm or something, with the way the flashes of electric blue and stuff against the violet.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah. I got the impression, when we first all sat down there and you were going to start doing these attunements, I got the impression like somebody telling all our friends, hey, look at this. And I just got the impression tons of energy were coming in right at that time for about 10 minutes.
I asked for that, so that's good. Good. I was wondering if anybody would notice that.
Yes, because it was all, and then there were a couple more
Thank you.
times that it happened. Very, very.
Yeah, especially probably at the end as well. What I did is I essentially asked for, I don't remember what my specific request was at the beginning, something to the effect of, the end was something to the effect of if we should receive any more attunements, or if any individual should receive any more attunement or guide or introduction of any energy or anything like that. I asked if that occurred now. And then I went back, and it seemed like that might be lengthy, so I said, well, maybe you could have had it occur earlier too.
Little time.
Yeah, and I did basically the same thing at the beginning too, because I figured if you guys were all going to be sitting out here, that'd be plenty of time for stuff to be happening on you while I did them.
When you were giving that last attunement, I was thinking of something that I was going to have to tell her. And before I got the words in my mind, all of a sudden there was a rush of what I call the universal God love magnet. It's just the most incredible love magnet that you can imagine. It was just right into my heart, and it was just pulling.
Cool.
It really was.
Tom?
I didn't get the word out.
Cool.
Onto a rainbow firestorm. Wow. A lot of violet, reds, blues, and they were just like that. And all of a sudden there was the fire dragon, and it faded away.
Cool.
When you finished, I thought to myself, I wonder what time it is. So I didn't move my head, but I could, it was as though I was standing over here somewhere looking at the clock, and it said 3:20, whatever it said. In my mind, I knew it was 2:21. Open my eyes, there it was 3:20.
Very cool. There was so much energy that as I was watching, as I was doing my hands up and down, I was seeing it move up and down, despite the fact that I had my eyes closed. That's a very rare phenomenon for me. Yeah.
Jeff, it was interesting when you said something about, you were just saying about it, that there's a guide or an energy that needs to be introduced. Because I've had an introduction, so to speak, to a spirit guide years ago, and never really had any sort of vision, but then I did today. And it was, I could just tell exactly who it was, and it was that energy. So that when you said that, that was amazing. It's like, okay, here you are. You know? So yeah, it probably happened right at the time. Right at the right time.
Very cool.
What is the largest group of people you attend at a time?
I think you're at,
We're at
I usually hold it down to 20, and we have 24 people here today. So, with Ruth coming, as a friend, and I had a couple of extra people, so this is probably the largest attempt.
One of the other things that I noticed intermittently throughout all of the attunements is different scents, and I've never really been keyed into scent. I'm much kinesthetic primarily, and so everything else is being added. But I noticed the flower essence that I always connect with was there. But the one that I noticed that I hadn't smelled before was a warm tobacco, and I kept going, well, I wonder if it's coming in the window, but it was there and back, and then when you started the Saibal attunements, it was lemon. I thought that was really, oh, this is the, you can send more of this. It was fun.
Did you have incense burning during that?
I did at the very beginning. I had frankincense and myrrh burning at the very beginning. I always burn that for traditional too. They had long since burned out by the time I finished the piece for.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, because I kept getting that incense going there.
It was more than
I use frankincense and myrrh incidentally because frankincense corresponds to higher spiritual vibrations, and myrrh rends the astral veil very nicely. It brings the non-physical world very close to the physical world. So I don't encourage you to use myrrh alone unless you really know what you're doing. And so, I'll always burn frankincense with it to call in the higher vibrations when those two worlds are close to each other. I think it's very facilitative. Okay, let's move on. For any of you who had doubts about whether or not you could phone energy in at a distance, hopefully we've answered that one for you today. Let's talk a little bit about attunement processes in general. I usually attune an entire group at one time. Only in cases like this where I can do a nice large group attunement and a bunch of Reiki Master type folks. Will I have a class this large? Ordinarily my classes are limited to about 10 people, 12, 13 people. Because the attunement processes take a long time, If I would have attuned 20 people, it would be, close to 7 o'clock right now. So, you got to kind of think of logistics when you're starting to plan your classes and whatnot. And the traditional master attunement is a very long attunement because you're planting all of the symbols in kind of every spot. So, I will usually do everyone at one time, however. And when possible, I arrange them in a circle. If it's not possible, like today, this room is just packed, so I just left you kind of helter-skelter where you are. Now, the reason I attune everybody at one time is because there's a great deal of sharing energy and guides and whatnot that goes on. So, consequently, the more people that you have here, the more of that there is to share. I mean, it's like a lightning show streaking across everybody if you can see energy. It's very dramatic. So I feel that I personally feel that there's a maximum effect achieved when you have a nice good-sized group of people, so I don't divide them up. The other thing that I do differently, and this is a major difference between the way I do the attunements and the way they are presented in William Rand's material, and that is that I do not divide up the attunements. He will do everyone's back, and then everyone's front, and then everyone's back again. And while we were researching clairvoyantly researching this attunement procedure, people would try to hint at me that wasn't the best thing, and I was like, that's not what I told you to look at. Study this. It's kind of off on that front. And finally, one of them got it through my head that with these simple words, he said, when you begin an attunement procedure and you set your hands on someone's head, their energy field expands voluminously and the pillars radiate out, and it's really quite an incredibly powerful sight. As you're going around, by the time you make it back to that first person, even if there are only 2 people, their energy field is practically back to normal, except that it's a different color. So all of them felt quite strongly that it would be much more powerful to do the attunements individually rather than the way that they were presented in the original material for this. And I experimented with that, and I found that to be absolutely the case. So that's the reason why I do it. I mean, again, I see my job as essentially, being, the facilitator of the most powerful attunements that I possibly can, and that was a major, major role in that. That above all else is probably one of the main reasons why I just don't use his manual, because that's a huge difference. I mean, it makes a big difference, as well as the planting of the symbols into the third eye and stuff like that. But, so those were 2 points that I wanted to stress out when it comes to doing attunements yourself, and laying people out in a room. And it was a long time to sit. It usually is a long time to sit with me.
So what you're saying, the way you used to do it, is you would do the crown on everyone and then come back and do another chakra on each person?
Sort of, the attunement procedure that's used in the Usui-Tibetan system, and that I use in general, is to plant the symbols in the base of the brain first, and then move around and plant them into the hands, and then move back around and seal it at the back of the neck. This is an abbreviation, but you'll see it all in a minute. And then move back around front again and do a releasing breath. So yeah, you go
Ours
around
was
and do
so totally different. We did the crown, and then the back of the heart, front of the heart. Let's see. Throat, and then third eye, and then the hands.
I know, there are a zillion of them out there.
And so that's why, why I was trying to get a picture. You're going to tell us what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, this is a place where, for whatever rumors are out there about the guy, my experience with William Rand has been that he's very nice. And he obviously has he's pulled this attunement procedure sort of out of his hat and assimilated it from a bunch of other stuff. And it's an incredibly powerful attunement procedure. I have altered it, I have made it more powerful, as far as I'm concerned. Just tinkered, and added a little bit to the top end. But it's by far the best Usui attunement procedure that I've run across so far. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's kind of get down into this attunement procedure, shall we? I think what we'll do is we'll take a break and we'll just for a second, so don't remain seated and talk amongst yourselves, kind of. And what we're going to have, I'll have Tom move his camera back so we can get a better angle, and so that we can adjust it so I'm not standing near a window or anything that will shut the iris down. And then I'll probably turn. And what I'll do is show you a sample first degree attunement. First and second degree are practically the same in this system, and then I'll have some people pick partners. I'll have some people pair up. Whoever wants to practice doing this can sort of practice doing this, and we'll run through that attunement procedure real quick, and then just so that you can kind of get the nuts and bolts of it down and understand it a little better. And then we'll do the same thing with the master attunement, and those will be the only two that we'll do from the system today, simply because they don't vary widely. I mean, it's practically the same stuff. So once you get the procedure done for one, you've pretty much got it for all of them. Okay, we'll take this.